Hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of Management Lessons from Indian Army I Learned Being a Fauji Kid. My name is Rashie Sinha, daughter of Col Pramod Sinha. Today we are diving into a critical aspect, thinking on your feet and decision making under pressure. The Indian Army's ability to make sound decisions in high stress situations offer invaluable lessons for leaders in the corporate world. I'll start with a story my father shared with me many years ago. My father finished his engineering from Birla Institute of Technology, Ranchi, and joined Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. He was commissioned in Indian Army in 1969 as an officer in the Corps of EME. As we all are aware, India fought a war with Pakistan in 1971 and my father's unit was moved to the Western Front as part of the 1st Brigade, that is, being part of troops on first line of fire. As an EME officer, his role was to ensure all equipments that are used during the war are repaired and maintained well, whereas the infantry unit fights the war. Before the war could begin, the position of OIC bench loan became vacant due to some situation of the officer assigned to that position. The role of OIC bench loan is a very important position and is carried out by an officer from infantry. The role includes management of food supply, optimal ammunition supply to the fighting troops, doing recce or forward posts in the enemy territory to ensure smooth and safe movement of our troops during the nights, and also doing the burial or cremation of the martyrs. Now, this position being vacant, a critical position being vacant, the brigade commander, instead of panicking, immediately turned to my father, a young and enthusiastic officer, then Captain Pramod Sinha, and asked him if he would fill in the role of OIC bench loan in addition to his assigned duties. My father immediately accepted the request with enthusiasm. We all know what was the result of that war. Of course, there are many more aspects to the story I have shared. However, the idea of highlighting this part of the incident was to showcase the strength the brigade commander displayed, thinking on his feet and managing a serious and urgent situation while keeping his cool and looking for the best solution. The young officer also displayed quick thinking through his response and the willingness to learn on the go even for such a high risk job. In the Indian Army, officers are trained rigorously to make critical decisions under extreme pressure. This is a skill we all can benefit from in our corporate roles. First, let's understand why this skill is essential. In today's fast-paced corporate environment, leaders often find themselves in high-stress situations. Whether it's a major project deadline, a crisis, or a strategic pivot, the ability to make sound decisions under pressure can be the difference between success or failure. If you have listened to the story I shared attentively, you would realize that both the brigade commander and a young captain displayed similar skills of thinking on their feet and taking quick decisions. This became possible because the Indian Army's training is a shining example of how to develop this skill. Their officers are prepared for situations where lives are on line and there's no room for error. Here is how they do this. Soldiers undergo realistic simulations of battlefield scenarios. This helps them become accustomed to high pressure situations. They learn to analyze complex situations quickly, breaking them down into manageable parts to identify the best course of action. Soldiers are trained to assess risks and prioritize them effectively. This skill is transferable to the corporate risk management situation. Let's now talk about how we can apply these lessons to our corporate roles. Consider conducting simulation exercises within your team or organization to practice decision making under pressure. These scenarios can help your team become more resilient. Similar to scenario analysis, we have SWOT analysis in a corporate setup. Break down complex problems into SWOT, that is, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat, and then do the SWOT analysis. It simplifies decision making. Implement robust risk management practices to identify and mitigate potential issues before they become crises. Prepare yourself for the worst scenario by creating a backup plan. All this will be possible when you train your teams on regular basis through workshops and case studies. Talking about case studies, I'll share with you 2 examples that you can research on about how these companies and leaders excelled in making critical decisions under pressure. The first case study that you should read about is on the company Apple. Steve Jobs' decision to release the iPhone despite facing skepticism revolutionized the smartphone industry. Do read up more about it. The second case study I would want you to read about is Johnson & Johnson. During the Tylenol crisis, the company's swift and decisive action set a benchmark for crisis management. Do search more about it and read about it, and I am sure you will have multiple takeaway points there. Remember, the ability to think on your feet and make critical decisions under pressure is a skill that can be cultivated and refined. Practice, adapt, and lead confidently in any circumstances. That's all I have for you today. Stay resilient and make those crucial decisions count. This is Rashie Sinha, daughter of Col Pramod Sinha, signing off.